Things may seem smooth and easy for me right now, but they weren't always that way. You see, when I started this photo studio in the ghettos of Kampala, I wanted to have a business making just enough for me to earn a decent living so I could live a life of my dreams. But the studio barely made $100 a month. We did not have enough bookings. The clients we mostly attracted were the price-sensitive clients, the ones who never cared about the value of what I was doing, but only cared about how they could squeeze every penny they had given you out of you. I remember I had this sample album that had a collection of photos I had taken as an assistant at big photographers' weddings. I would carry this album and take it to some place in Kampala where wedding meetings were mostly held. 99% of all the meetings that I went to showcase my wedding album, they promised to call, but to date, I'm still waiting for their calls. These people rejected me. The few people that came in, they were the price sensitive. And if I'm to tell you, many of them never even picked their wedding photos. To date, they have never even bothered calling me. And that is how bad it was. Poor results ruined my self-confidence. You see, I was always used to setting goals and achieving them, but now my photography business didn't bring the dream, the work, the freedom that I wanted. I felt terrible. I was a broke photographer. Around mid-2010, I was first thrown out of my ghetto apartment, so I started sleeping in the studio. 3 weeks later, I was also thrown out of the studio. The property manager confiscated all the photography equipment. That included even customer photos that hadn't yet been delivered. You see, there is an African saying that goes, when a bad omen wakes up to you, even an animal as peaceful as a goat will bite you. Now, this was one of those bad omen days. Everything for me seemed to be falling apart. Have you ever had such days? On this day at 5 a.m., I was woken up by loud yells and bangs on the studio metallic door. Sleepy me rolled out of the heavy, dusty and smelly studio backdrop I was covering myself with. I was all pale with dry, cracked lips. I looked like I had just been sun-dried. I looked terrible. And it was at this moment I knew it was all over. The property manager was all yelling and very, very furious. He wanted me out of the studio premises or out. I was scared, nervous and worried, and my heart was pumping at a fast pace like it was sponsored. I could feel my blood race through my veins. My armpits were all sweating and I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I don't know what exactly happens to my digestive system when I'm scared, but I felt like going to the bathroom at that moment. I was thrown out of the studio premises after. But as I was walking, the property manager got the studio metallic door welded. He even changed the padlock and he told me never to come back unless I had brought all his money. Chances of me ever finding that money, truth be told, were Wiz Khalifa skinny. I walked out of the premises feeling like a loser. I was physically and mentally torn apart. The only thing I had on me was my toothbrush that I had in my pocket and the clothes on my body. I had no shelter, no food, and no penny to my name. My world turned dark. I almost gave up on photography. A few months after I had lost it all, I was sitting in this minibus going back to my brother's house where I had gone to seek refuge. This minibus had a cream leather roof, and for some reason it had some written inscriptions just below the first aid box. Some were notices to customers asking them to pay in time, but for some reason below these notices there were some motivational quotes from great Ugandan authors. Others were African proverbs, but there was this particular one. I don't remember the actual ones, but it kinda went like this. Ask yourself, how will my life be in the next 5 years if I'm doing what I'm doing right now? For some reason, that question stuck with me, and it's at this moment I decided to do something about my life other than whining. It's at this moment I decided to man up. I did an honest self-assessment on myself, and later it dawned on me that my photos, my pictures weren't good enough. Leave the fact that I was inexperienced in business, but they weren't bad. Yes, they were technically competent, but they lacked the wow factor that would make someone want a piece of them. They could get such photos from anywhere else. No wonder I struggled. I embarked on a journey of finding a differentiating factor that would position me well on the market. I had a fashion designer friend of mine called Susan. So one day I paid Susan a visit. She owned a fashion house and I landed on a fashion photography magazine. Now, this fashion magazine changed the way I looked at photography forever. There was something about the images in this magazine that was jaw-dropping. The images were not usual. They were effortlessly stunning, yet so different to leave you wanting more. I remember looking through this same magazine every time I visited Susan's fashion house. I decided to dedicate the following weeks to researching glam photography. I sacrificed 3 hours every day researching high-end glam photography. I bought fashion magazines, I watched videos, I watched movies, just looking out for scenes that were polarizing. I even watched music videos just to see how they lit the scenes. You see, I wanted to create my own style that would differentiate me from the rest of the photographers. I tried these concepts and ideas on photo shoots with a few tweaks to add my personality, and developed them slowly by slowly. Around mid-2012, we booked our first wedding and we applied these new land techniques. My God, I saw a floodgate of prospects storming my Facebook inbox. I reopened the studio, and in the next year, we booked over 92 weddings. Yes, a 9 and a 2. I even hired photographers that I once admired to shoot for me. The bookings came in so many, I was charging too little for the exclusivity. I was super naive about the business side of things. So I was overwhelmed. I was taking in any customers for as long as I was getting a little profit. The huge sums of money overwhelmed me. The load of work overwhelmed me. This led to delays in delivery, poor customer service, and of course, they gave me a bad mouth out there. Because of this bad reputation and bad customer reviews and bad customer experiences, the clients reduced, and again I closed down. The customers that paid the least amount of money had the most expensive abuses. This crushed me emotionally. I lost weight. I woke up every morning feeling tired and not excited to go to work. The money was coming in, but I wasn't happy with the kind of customers I was getting. I closed and I dedicated my time and energy to understanding business. When I came back, I decided I was going to triple my prices and change my marketing message in order to repel customers I didn't want and only attract the creme de la creme. But this time I wanted to do creative and commercial photography. Today, I use this strategy to generate 6 figures of income every year in just portrait and commercial photography alone, serving my dream customers as well as enjoying and living the life of my dreams, doing what I love. How amazing is that? I didn't have to buy new cameras and lights or the next best lens that I was being advertised that year. I just had to make a few tweaks in my photography from traditional to high-end glam photography. You may be wondering, what is glam photography? This photography usually incorporates current trends when it comes to poses, settings, and special effects. It also has a touch of high-end fashion. It goes beyond formal and traditional shots. You as a photographer, you take it a notch higher by spicing the moments with your artistic ability and aesthetic. You are probably thinking, But Oscar, that's great, but that has nothing to do with me. Well, let me say this to you. Traditional photography is about capturing the moment as it goes. You are hired to do a shoot. It may be a wedding, it may be a portrait shoot, it may be a commercial, and wait for moments to happen. And if you're lucky, you get that extraordinary shot. Basically, you're hired because you have a camera. The only problem with this, it's hard to get artistic and flattering shots because you have no control, unless you are a fashion photographer. But if you're not, 99% of the time, these people we shoot are ordinary people, not models. So they are not trained to stand, stare, or gaze in a particular way. So traditional photographers will document the moment as it is, while high-end glam photographers spice up the moment by adding a bit of soul. You see, high-end glam photography makes moments more memorable because you are leading the person down the path of feeling, being, and looking their very best in the moment. It is the creative direction that makes this special, and it is these same kinds of images that help you create that great portfolio that is going to attract more of the same kind of great customers. See how that works? People love looking beautiful. They say beauty is the biggest seducer of man. That's why high-end glam photographs have been proven to outperform traditional photographs. If there is nothing that differentiates you from your competition, then the quality of your work will always be measured against price. This is because your photography is positioned as a commodity. Now, high-end glam photography will decommoditize your craft and set you apart from your competition and make you the go-to photographer for every customer that desires exclusivity. Subscribing to this channel right now is going to kickstart your way to success in photography. So click the subscribe button right now. Make sure you turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of the amazing episodes that I'm going to be sharing with you. Let me hold you by the hand and show you how to take your photography to the next level. Why should you even listen to me? One, I am a professional photographer with an experience of over 15 years. I have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars doing portrait, wedding, and commercial photography. I am also the founder of Isirafo Network, a photography and video production company. I have won several photography awards and have helped thousands of photographers online and offline start and scale their photography businesses. This video is not about me. This video is about you. This video is about showing you what you are capable of achieving. Do not dare give up on your dream because your victory is just around the corner, and I can't wait to see you at the top. In the comments below, tell me what has resonated with you, and I'll see you in the next one. And adios.